Now I'm going to teach you 3 more keys that will help seeing the world around you and moving over large distances far easier. You've seen me use the zoom in out function already during this tutorial, but I haven't told you how to do it yet. I think the time has come. The key for zooming in is Z, but if you're zoomed all the way in, then it will zoom you all the way out. So this is really an amplitude setting that can be adjusted backward and forward using small z and capital Z. As you can see, capital Z, zoom out, small z, zoom in, but it does wrap around and go back to the other side. You can't zoom in infinitely, you can't zoom out infinitely. It's very nice sometimes to zoom out as far as possible to get an overall viewpoint, but you might notice that the view that I'm seeing from my maximal zoom is the view that's being reflected by the minimap. So you'll often see me play like this or like this because I want to keep the viewer engaged in what I'm doing. We can see the character clearly and the environment right around him. I spend a lot of time looking at the minimap because it is the most zoomed out view as a handy reference there to the right. But you can do it either way. Zoom out to get a look at things and zoom back in so you can see your character. You want to move over a larger distance. Oh, by the way, zoom also works on the overmap. So we can zoom way out, and it has the same wraparound function. This is your maximal view on the overmap, which we have already covered. It's M to open your overmap. And we can zoom in to get finer detail on the overmap. So the next concept I want to teach is how to move across the overmap automatically. So let's say I want to move to this point, which is outside the scope of my view, by the way. I can also move inside the scope of my view. I think this corner right here is just inside the scope of our maximal view. I'm going to call this the Wonder key, just because it starts with a W, and I like to use mnemonics. You have to hit this key twice. The first W sets the path and projection. And as you can see, there's some highlighting going on here, which says we're going to take this path to reach that point. If I hit capital W again, it will ask me if I want to travel to that point. I can say yes. The character is moving automatically to the chosen point. I'll teach another key before we get started with the rest of the episode and go explore using these keys. I'm going to return to the vicinity of the car here. This is our home base where we started out at the very beginning of the tutorial series. The key I'm going to teach you today is capital V. So capital V is a sort of everything you can see in this area mode. It's extremely handy for seeing objects at a distance without having to use the X explore key and hover over every tile manually. So this is going to show a yellow line leading from the character to the object that the character is seeing. And we get a description of the item automatically. So here we see honeydew, and we're being told that this is the first time we've seen it using this mode, that it's 18 tiles away, and that the direction is southeast. So you don't need all that information, but it can be handy. We're looking at honeydew, which is a type of material in the category of honey. It's going to give us a volume, weight, length, and category, which is it is a food, and a description. So this is a sugar-rich, sticky substance produced by aphids from plant sap. Ants and bees love it. Oh, good to know. It even gives us a calorie count and quench value without ever picking it up. We see some acorns over here, the glass shards that we thought about wielding in a previous tutorial video. We see there's some sheets among the glass shards. You can see they're on the same tile here. There's long strings in the same pile. Here are the rocks that we thought about wielding earlier in the tutorial series. Right on the side of the road, you can see the rocks. We're actually seeing 6 rocks, and I think, is it arrow right? Yeah. So we can arrow up and down through the list, but we're going to see 6 rocks here. If I arrow right, it will show us where all 6 of those rocks are being seen. Very, very handy feature there. We also see a sharp rock and a newspaper page, and we can read the newspaper page from where we stand, which is some real eagle-eyed vision if you ask me, but I'll take it. This newspaper page reads, "Psychic emanations? A seemingly far-fetched theory about ongoing riots sweeping the nation has been gaining traction after a leaked document about experiments in magnetic control of brainwaves." Now, the article continues, but we have not yet learned how to pick up a book or newspaper or manual and read it. We'll save that for another episode. We're also seeing that there's a corpse over here somewhere beside the road, and what that corpse used to be wearing. Very handy to use the V key. I'm going to hop in our car, which we've already learned to drive. It's very simple use of the arrow keys and the number pad. Once you get the hang of it, it's not too hard to do. Now I want to show you this overmap travel using the capital W keybind. We have seen about this far, but we haven't traveled this far. I'm going to drive off-road to this dark point right here in the middle of the open field by tapping the capital W key twice. And we'll drive to that point automatically. Auto drive is going to save you a lot of trouble manually driving and manually avoiding obstacles along the way. Once we've driven to this point, we will have revealed more of the overmap, so we can always switch back to our map and assess what we've seen, which it tells us that we noted a collapsed shed and that there was a point of burned ground in this location. We're beginning to pick up a little splotch of forest over here. We can continue to drive into the unknown in such a way. We can't drive into a square that we haven't seen, but something that we've seen at a very great distance is totally legal to drive to. Now I'm going to open my overmap and have another look. It looks like we've discovered a golf course. Very nice. We can use the capital V key to view things from the driver's seat of our car. So let's say we're driving along like this and I hit capital V. This doesn't interrupt our driving at all, and it takes 0 turns to do this, so it's completely safe. We see 2 newspaper pages. There's one here, an article about rioters mutating. Probably a very interesting article. Another article in a newspaper page here reads, "Cops in Crisis." Looks like we have some empty shell casings in the area, and another corpse of a human being, not a zombie. I guess we can tell from just looking at it. What people were wearing and what they left behind. Now, I'm kind of intrigued about this golf course, but I don't want to go into the golf course and risk life and limb if there's going to be no reward for doing so. How do I know if there'll be a reward for doing so? I use my capital V key, and I can basically assess everything visible from here and whether I want to pick it up. Now, technically, you might say that I'm breaking my rule to only introduce 2 or 3 keybinds at a time. But you're only going to have to hit this key once. So if you're playing along with me, try this. When you're in this capital V view menu, tap the S key. This is now going to sort that menu from now on, and it should not change unless we ourselves change it. It's going to sort these things into categories. So here's all the food that we're seeing. Here are all the books that we're seeing. Here's all the currency that we're seeing. Here's all the other that we're seeing. Here are all the spare parts, containers, corpses, and clothing that we're seeing. I noticed one thing was missing from this list. We did not see any weapons. And since we're still on the hunt for weapons, I'm going to say we can keep driving. So my plan here is to just cruise past the golf course and see if a weapon category pops up in my view menu, which I'm not seeing one. Now, I would expect to see, and what I'm hoping to see, is that there's a golf club laying out there somewhere. It seems reasonable. We've got golf balls and golf tees visible from here. Although technically it's possible that it could be on one of these corpses. That item should appear sorted out in a weapons category. Now, some of the things that are on a corpse will be hidden. For example, I'm looking here to see if they have a wallet. The contents of the wallet may not be visible. Sometimes the contents of various pockets are not visible. Here you go. Drop leg bag, for example. It's giving us a note here that says that it hides its contents. And I'm not sure if we can open the contents of that with another key. It looks like we actually can, but I don't want to teach you too many keys at one time. I am going to stop the car here, however, and I'm going to use Shift 6. That's the caret key, which is all things driving. And I'm going to stop driving right here. I have a strong feeling that there should be some kind of golf club on the premises. Now, one thing that I should probably note is that when you hit capital V to bring up the remote viewing menu here, it gives me a tooltip at the top of that window that says Tab Items. I'm going to experimentally hit Tab, and what do we have now? Monsters. So there's two tabs to the view menu, and by hitting Tab we can tab between them. It says we don't see any monsters from here, but we will be able to see and examine monsters at a distance using the capital V key, menu. So here we have a little golf course. I can read this sign at a distance. The sign says hole number 15. And here we have the golf tee and golf ball that we spotted from the road. But we can't see everything from the road. Line of sight is very important. So as I walk forward through this golf course, I'm going to continue to periodically tap the capital V key and see what's around us. I'm also watching my mini-map, looking for a flashing red blip that might indicate that we've spotted a hostile creature. Now there we go, finally. Way off to our left, I can tell by the dotted yellow pointer that's going from the indicated object back toward me. This is a golf club. It is 55 tiles to the west. So that's the direction I want to head. It is in the category of weapons, and it's telling me right away if I look at the bottom of the capital V menu. This is a Bash 11 and 2-hit bonus +3 weapon. Very nice. Much better than the plank we're carrying now. So I'm going to head off to the left. I don't know exactly where the golf club is because I just noted that it was basically off to my left. Once I've walked a certain distance, I can hit capital V again, and I see it's actually above me somewhat. Don't want to step on a rose bush, apparently. Here it is. Oh, and just in time, we've spotted a fat zombie off in the distance. I'm using the indicated tooltip. Press plus to turn it off. On your menu, it may be exclamation point. I have rebound that key. Now that it's told me that I spotted a fat zombie, I'm going to go ahead and hit the capital V key. And notice we're still looking at items. I hit tab, and it's going to show us the monster that we see. He is inside the golf pro house, or what do you call it, pro shop, clubhouse, on the other side of a set of windows. He's 26 tiles away. We get a description of the zombie, and I can confidently say that he's far enough away we have time to wield this golf club. I'm going to take a step forward and hit the W key, and we're given the option of picking up the golf club. Let's wield that. Now we don't have a backpack to store our plank in, so we're obliged to drop the item. And congratulations, we are now armed with a relatively good melee weapon. If I hit my wield menu, we can look at it again. This is Bash 11 and melee +3. +3 is an increased chance to hit with it. And we've got 11 bash damage for less than 100 moves per attack, so we can swing it in less than one turn. I think this golf club will serve us well. With that, I'm going to wrap up this episode of our tutorial series. Join me in the next episode for some tips about combat.